What is up, guys? So today we're going to talk about the true cost of addiction, what we have to go through as recovering addicts, the troubles, what comes with it, the stresses, the anxiety, the depression, the mental health, the trauma, the PTSD, all the stuff what comes with addiction, and what does it really truly cost, because it costs everything. And when it's taken everything, it'll come back and take some more, and people don't really understand this. They think that they see a drug addict or a junkie or a smackhead, whatever you want to call it, and they'll see him and think, oh, why don't he just get clean? Why don't he just do his detox? And then off he goes into this merry new life. But it don't work like that, you know. That's just the first step. And nobody really talks about the mental trauma and the anxiety and the depression, what comes with it, because they don't want to seem weak. And I understand that, but you know, I'm in a position now where I really don't care. I've done so many stupid things over the years that nobody expects anything from me anyway. So I'm in quite a strong position where I can say whatever I want. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, when you do YouTube, it does affect negativity though. And I noticed yesterday I was doing a video, I was out and about around Doncaster, because I don't want to just sit in front of a camera all the time. I want to go out and do videos while I'm out and about. So I did that yesterday. And I noticed in the comments, the old shadow boxer wrote bacon. Now, I don't know if he was trying to say that I'm a bacon or somebody in the video was a bacon. I don't know. But what I will say is I'm probably one of the only people on this YouTube, in the dark side, that's not got any charges against women. You know, there's nothing against children, nothing against women. Yeah, I've got a long, extensive criminal past, but it's all thefts, it's all drug related thefts, shoplifting, burglaries from like office blocks. I never did houses, but yeah, so you can call me a junkie, smackhead, whatever you want, but bacon is not one of them. And for somebody like that who's actually been to prison for, let's say, pork based offences, you know, but I will let him get away with that once. But only once can I, or will I, let him get away with that. And because I don't even, he just wrote bacon, so I mean, is he talking about trying to say I'm a bacon? I don't know. But anyway, let's get that out of the way. So, moving on, a long time as an addict now. When I was at school, I was totally different to what, like, personality-wise. Like, at school, now, I suffer with anxiety, depression, you know, I'm just a shell of what I was when I was younger. When I was at school, I was popular, funny, you know, I was outgoing, confident. And I was such a popular kid at school that I played Joseph in the play. Like every year they'd have like a school nativity play, and the real popular kid got to play Joseph, and that was me. So quite strangely quite proud of that. But I played Joseph and alongside Mary in the play, which was a leading role. So yeah, I was popular at school, and then when I got to middle school, it was the same thing. I was just acting out all the time, very immature, like a class clown. But I got through the middle school, and then we got to Baldy Car, which is when all the problems started, really. And I do feel like I got let down by the teachers, because they didn't really know how to teach me. I mean, I couldn't learn nothing. I was too busy showing off, too busy running around. Like nowadays, they'd probably call it ADHD or something like that. They'd probably know how to teach kids like that. But when I was a kid, they didn't know what to do. So they just let me run around, just acting the fool. And I found, which was interesting, I found some old report cards. I might put them up one day. And they all said the same thing. Not exactly the same, but worded differently. They all said, oh yeah, Ian is a very capable kid, but he just won't learn, you know. He's very capable, but he just chooses to mess about and just act stupid. And that was me, you know. I just wanted to make people laugh, just be a class clown. And what we used to do is we used to skive off school all the time. We used to go into the hospital grounds next door, and we broke through the wall underneath the hospital, and we got underneath the hospital. We used to do hot knives and smoke weed down there. It's funny because if we applied the same, like, if we applied the same creativity towards studies, I probably would have been at like a genius level. If we'd applied those things what we put towards figuring out ways to smoke weed, I probably would have flourished. But anyway, I was a naughty kid. So, but I was popular and everybody liked me as far as I know. Ask anyone, there's people in the comments saying, yeah, remember he at school, he was funny, he was popular. But I was unteachable because I just wanted to mess around, and it got to the point where I was disrupting all the other kids, and so I just used to not go into school. And usually if somebody's not going into school, they would call the parents, they'd want to know where he was. But with me, it was like, oh, good, glad we got rid of him. So they didn't even call my parents, they were just glad I was gone. So I left school really early. And I ended up getting a shared accommodation, like a shared house. I fell in with the wrong crowd. I got into the rave scene, which, I've got to be honest, the rave scene was amazing. Best time of my life, by far. Just a bunch of social misfits. We used to go and meet up at the local underground rave and just drop a couple pills, and we were bouncing all night, and everybody was everybody's best mate. It was fucking amazing. And then somebody, after a rave one morning, somebody pulled out some heroin. Now, I don't think I used it that time, but that was the first time I saw it. Now, we knew heroin was bad, but they said that ecstasy was bad because of the Leah Betts incident where a young lass died. And I had the best time of my life on ecstasy. So I thought it was the same with heroin, because we didn't have the internet back then. They didn't have people like me showing you what the devastation of drugs and addiction and heroin abuse and the hell what comes with it. We didn't have that. So all we had was the papers saying, yeah, heroin's bad. But they said that about ecstasy. So I thought we'd have some heroin, we'd all have a good time, laugh our fucking arses off, just like with acid and ecstasy. And then you go back to your normal life. But it don't work like that. And I can't understand how I got addicted to it, because the first time I had it, I didn't even enjoy it. It was horrible. I was into uppers, bouncing all night, laughing, and, going on missions at like 2 o'clock in the morning, fucking tripping off his heads. I went into like gouging, like heroin. Heroin makes you gouge, it helps you forget your problems and helps you sleep. But I didn't want that. I was an upper. I didn't want downers. I didn't have any problems to forget. I loved who I was when I was younger. But, I ended up somehow getting addicted to it. And I don't know if I got kicked out of the property I was in, but we ended up in a place called Wellgate Flats, which has been demolished now. It was a rough area in Conisbrough. And we moved in with these lasses. We just fucking turned up one day and just moved in. And before I knew it, all I can remember from back then is waking up in the morning, we needed money for drugs, for heroin. And it's like, fucking hell, we had to go into the shops and grab loads of bacon and run out. And that's when the disaster, the hell on earth, the life of misery began. And what we used to do is there was me, I don't really want to say the names, but there was 3 of us. And what we used to do is we used to borrow somebody's car, and we would go shoplifting all around Doncaster, and say we would just get a car, we would go to 10 different shops. Each shop would grab 10 items each, toothpastes or packs of bacon, packs of cheese, and just throw it all in the back. And then after we'd been to loads of shops, we'd have 300 or 400 items, and we'd just sell them for 200 quid or something. And then we'd go and buy heroin. We were still going to the raves, but it wasn't the same. We weren't enjoying it as much as when we was clean. And we used to go to Meadowhall, had just opened, or not been opened long. And we used to go to Meadowhall, and when it first opened, it was so easy to steal from. We'd just walk in, we'd drive down there in the car, and we'd walk in, just grab a full rack of Levi jeans, and it was really expensive, and just walk out, and it was so easy. And then we'd just have all the money, we'd just go to the rave, and then we'd just do heroin. And that's how it started. And we ended up getting caught. We got pulled over by the police. We had 400 packs of bloody bacon and cheese and toothpaste and shampoos. And the coppers saying, oh, whose is all this then? And I said, oh, that tube of toothpaste is mine. My other mate says, yeah, that pack of bacon's mine. But we don't know about the rest of it. And we ended up getting locked up, and it was just like a revolving door. And, you know, we'd go out stealing, get caught, get locked up, do a couple months, get out, get back on it, and just stuck in a revolving door, and I couldn't get away from it. And that's when heroin starts taking. It starts off, it took all his money, you know, until we had no money left. It takes, I used to have a job. I started off as a window cleaner, which was pretty good money. And then we used to spray prison fences, which is funny because we probably ended up behind those fences what we were spraying. So it takes your job, it takes your property, it takes all your material items, and then when all them are gone, that's when you have to start stealing. That's when your reputation goes. You start losing your friends, and you know it takes everything. And then when you've got nothing left, you're sat homeless on the streets. It comes and takes some more, takes your liberty. So then you're sat in a prison cell, and you've got, you know, you've not even got anything. Then you're just a number, and then it comes and takes some more, because it just, that's all it does. It takes until there's nothing left, and then it'll take some more, and you just end up a broken mess on the floor, you know. And I ended up in and out of prison for years on end. I ended up homeless on the streets, living in crack dens, and being around violence in prison, because prison in the early 90s, it was a rough place. My local was a Cat A prison, so, you know, I'm seeing people getting cut wide open with razor blades, and going from like a funny, outgoing kid who was into the rave scene, who was all happy, I wasn't around violence like that, to get thrown into an environment where there's kids ripping people's faces open with razor blades and throwing red hot water in the face. And I had to learn to adjust and survive in a harsh prison environment, and it was hard, you know. And I've seen things what still haunt me to this day. Like, you're not supposed to see people get ripped open with razor blades. And the first time I saw it, my legs buckled, you know. I was like, fucking hell, I nearly passed out. It was crazy. But yeah, I was stuck in that life time and time. And then eventually, you know, I lost everything. I was known as a smackhead. And I got to a point where I was homeless on the streets. And one morning I used to sleep in a bus station, because I used to be able to sneak in the bus station and sneak on the back of the bus and sleep there. You know, at least it was out of the cold. And I remember one night I was going there, and it just started throwing it down with rain, like buckets of rain. I was soaked in an instant. It was like a tropical thunderstorm. I thought, I've got to get out of this. So I just hopped over a fence, because I didn't have nowhere to live. And I just went into an outside toilet. It was pitch black. I couldn't see a thing. And I just crashed on the floor and fell asleep. And I remember waking up that next morning on the floor, soaking wet. You know, the toilet was disgusting. My face was on the floor, and there was a slug right next to my face. And that's, you know, that was my rock bottom. I was like, fuck, man, what am I doing? I've got to get clean now, that's it. And I went away, and I got clean, I got sober. And it was, I can't remember how I did it. It might have been Subutex, I'm not too sure. But it wasn't the first time I got clean, it was the first time I made the decision on myself, my own, to get clean. And I went away, got clean. And then I started rebuilding, you know. I made friends with people again, and people were seeing that I was clean and sober, and I got some respect back, and I got a job. I was working like 50 hours a week, loads of money in the bank, going on holiday again. Well, not on holiday, like going to Butlins weekends and stuff like that. I've never really been on holiday. But, you know, going to like Butlins fancy dress weekends and going to events and living life. I'd built everything up what you're supposed to do, job, got everything back. I was in a relationship, and then one day, boom, relapsed. And it was all gone. Within months, everything gone again. I was fucking on my arse again, homeless again, stealing again. And I was devastated. Oh, fuck's sake, you know. And so I was back on the revolving door, prison, you know what I mean? And then it got to a point where I got clean again. It's a bit hazy, but it took me to, like, say 5 years ago. And I was on like every day I was an alcoholic. I was on between 10, 20 strong cans of beer a day. I was on Valium, over 100ml a day. And in fact, I used to have 100ml as soon as I woke up, and then I'd have 100ml in a night. I was on, what was it? Valium, Xanax. I was on pregabalin. I was on sheets and sheets of gabapentin, and I was smoking crack every single day. I wasn't on heroin, but I was on everything else. And I gained loads of weight because of the beer. I was eating rubbish. I was massively overweight, and for like 4 or 5 years, I just gave up. I convinced myself there's no way out. You know, I'm too far gone. I can't get clean. I'm on 5 different drugs. And even if I do get off them, I'm still an alcoholic. Even if I do get off that, I'm still fat as a pig. There's no way I can get off all these drugs, get off the alcohol, detox from all that, and lose all the weight. Absolutely no way. That is impossible. And it was impossible until it wasn't, you know. And I made a decision. I was in such a horrible, terrible state. I can't tell you in words how bad I was. Every morning I wake up and I wished I hadn't. I just wanted to die, you know. And I did videos talking about it before, and I used to break up because it was a tough, hard time. I didn't want to be here anymore. I'd made peace with dying. That's all I wanted. And I would make videos about it, and I'd start choking up, and then there's people in the comments, oh, you're back on drugs, you know. And it's all this mental trauma, what people don't even realise they're doing. But yeah, I got to a point where I just had enough, you know. I just wanted to die, and I thought, right, well, I'm dying anyway. All my legs and ankles were swollen up. I could barely even walk. I couldn't breathe. There was people taking photos of me struggling in the street and uploading it for people to laugh at. I was in a terrible state, and I just couldn't see a way out. I'd convinced myself there is no way out. Until one day I just said, right, that's it, I'm dying anyway. I'm going to cold turkey. I'm going to do it raw, you know. Whatever pain, whatever misery, whatever horrible crap I have to go through, I'm going to do it because I've had enough of this. And if I die, because it's not advisable to quit alcohol or Valium as cold turkey, it can kill you. But I thought, well, I'm dying anyway, so it's worth the risk. And I knew it was going to be painful, but oh God, it was horrendous because I quit it cold turkey and it lasted for months. It must have been 3 months before I could even go outside. I was hurting in ways I can't even explain. You know, it was just horrible. And I've spoke about it before, so I'm not going to rehash it. But I got through it, you know, and I made that decision. That's how long it takes to get clean. 2 seconds. When you make that decision and say, that's it, no more, I'm done. And I got through it, and that brings us to today. I mean, I started a YouTube channel, and it helps me immeasurably, because I thought everybody, the support I get, it's amazing, you know, and I want to thank everybody who supports me. It's honestly, you don't understand what it means. But yeah, it helps me immeasurably. It helps me talk about it, and it helps other people when they're watching it, saying, you know what, I go through that as well. So yeah, and I lost all the weight. I was intermittent fasting, and the weight dropped pretty quick. Like, you don't really realise it when you're going through it, because I remember I was on like 1,000 calories a day. I was doing cardio fasting, and I'm thinking, I'm not losing any weight here. But then like 3 months later, and I'm skinny, but you don't see it because you're seeing yourself every day. And I overdid it, and people were calling me Tim Westwood, saying, oh look, he looks like Tim Westwood now. So I thought I better put a little bit of weight back on. But yeah, that's what brings us to today. So the moral of the story is, I guess, it doesn't matter how far you've fallen, it doesn't matter how bad you are, it doesn't matter I thought everybody hated me, you know. I'd given up. But then the moment I decided to change my life, I did it. You know, I'm here today, I'm telling the story. So you never think that you're too far gone, because you're not. No one's ever too far gone. There is a way out, and I know because I've been there, and I know what it's like. I've lived in crack dens, I've I've spent half my life in prison. I've fucking been battered. I've been beat up. I've been ridiculed. I've been shamed. But you know what? I'm still here. And that's what I do now, just make videos and talk about it. So anyway, I've rambled on for 20 minutes. So if you like this video, yeah, keep fighting, keep moving forward. If you're struggling now, there's better days ahead, I can promise you that. So if you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Nerf the pap.